Hi everybody, Playtendoguy here and welcome to my top 10 games of 2018. 2018 is nearly over and yet again it's been jam-packed full of video games to play. From big AAA titles to smaller indie projects, 2018 has been another brilliant year full of enjoyable and memorable experiences. And whilst there's been an odd disappointment here and there, and the disappointment that was Fallout 76, which less said about that the better, the quality has been mostly high throughout the year. So as the year is nearly over, it's time to do the year's best games list. This list will be mine and will be the games I played and most enjoyed the most throughout the year. And I had to tell you, it was really hard choice to choose 10 games from the list, as there's so many brilliant games that could have made the list. If your favourite didn't make the list, it's not that I didn't like it, it's that I probably haven't played it or just didn't like it as much as these games. So without further ado, let's begin. Number 10. Detroit Become Human. David Cage's games are pretty iconic for probably the wrong reasons. Whilst both Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls have had their fans, they both suffer from various storytelling issues. But Detroit Become Human is Cage's latest work and easily his best work to date, focusing on a story that's been done plenty of times before around what happens if robotic androids develop feelings. Detroit does enough to make itself heard, mainly due to the strong characters and enjoyable script. Normally story-driven games are pretty short and not very replayable, but Detroit surprises with a huge amount of variables and different outcomes for each chapter that playing through once is never the same. It's really quite astounding. Oh, and the sections where you play as android detective Connor are really enjoyable. Very much like a futuristic LA Noire, and I'd love if we get a spin-off game with him and Hank in the future. Number 9. Hitman II. 2016's reboot of the Hitman franchise was a brilliant reinvention of a classic series, sprucing up the gameplay, having massive locations and plenty of replayability due to the many different ways to dispatch your targets to make for a very enjoyable game. But there was one problem with the game. It was episodic and it was split into several chapters throughout 2016, and while it did work, it was a bit of a confusing setup that put many customers off. Fast forward to 2018 and Hitman 2 is thankfully a full release with all the locations available from day one, which is much better. Hitman 2 is a straight-up sequel, changing very little from the groundwork that was laid out in the 2016 original, and to be fair, nothing really needed to change. It's just more the same, great creative fun gameplay that served the original so well. We have 6 brand new locations, some of them are absolutely huge and impressive in scale. Highlights are the F1 racing event, which sees you often a father and daughter, to tracking down a few hits in suburban America. Each of the levels are so finely created and full of detail and replayability that you'll be coming back to the same locations to try and complete levels in different ways. Hitman 2 is also very generous with the content, as it not only includes the new 6 locations, a fun sniper mode that is playable in both single player and multiplayer, and a cool new multiplayer mode called Ghost Mode, where you and another player try to off target before the other one. It's a very cool take on the gameplay. Plus, if you own Season 1, then you can download the whole season to play on Hitman 2 to make for one incredibly massive game full of creative murder and fun. Number 8. Octopath Traveler. The Switch is still very much in its early days, and so far Square has yet to release a mainline Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy on Nintendo's hybrid console. But whilst we wait, Square has assorted with Octopath Traveler, a fantastic retro trip down memory lane. Coming from the same team that brought us the wonderful Bravely series on 3DS, Octopath takes inspiration from the SNES days of RPGs in both gameplay and graphics department. Octopath follows 8 different characters who all have their own goals and stories, and there's a great sense of freedom as you can choose who are the 8 characters you want to recruit in your team. You can choose to have all 8 or just focus on certain characters. It really does show how great the game design is here. The many different battles in the games are a blast to play, mainly thanks to the boost and the break mechanics that offers a great strategic and risk-reward element to every battle. The game is also a stunner, taking a beautiful artistic approach with a cool new art style called 2D HD. That looks like a 16-bit game, but with HD detail and 3D environments to make it feel incredibly modern. A special shout out has to go to the wonderful and majestic orchestrated soundtrack that is honestly one of my favourites of the year, and also one of the best RPGs of this generation. Number 7. Monster Hunter World. The Monster Hunter series has been around for well over a decade now, and whilst the series has been moderately popular over here in the West, it was never really the phenomena it was in Japan. That's all changed with the release of Monster Hunter World earlier this year, as it marked a huge change for the franchise, giving the gameplay a much needed shake-up from the previous entries. The basic premise of hunting various huge monsters is still the same, but gameplay has been greatly refined and brought up to date, with new features, mechanics, and a stunning new graphics engine, thanks to the power of the current gen consoles. All these combine to make for the best entry in the series to date, Capcom's best-selling game ever, as well as finally giving the series the footing in the West the series so rarely deserves. Number 6. Dragon Ball FighterZ. Fighting games this generation are to a penny these days, and whilst most of them are really good, the problem has always been that they've been lacking in the single-player content department. But that problem doesn't affect FighterZ, as the single-player stuff here is impressively generous, with 3 separate and rather lengthy campaigns that follows the same story but through different perspectives, arcade modes, as well as some combo challenges. The competitive scene is also strong here, with a bustling online community and constant free and paid updates to keep you coming back for more. But in its core fighting, FighterZ is absolutely fighting bliss, with fast combat and easy to pick up and hard to master mechanics. That means anyone can give it a go and pull off impressive moves. It also helps that the game is a real looker with a wonderful anime art style. FighterZ is easily one of the most impressive and most enjoyable fighters of this generation, and even if you don't have a passing care about the Dragon Ball series, it's really worth a go. Number 5. Yakuza 6: The Song of Life. The Yakuza franchise has gone from strength to strength in the West since the launch last year of Yakuza 0, and Yakuza 6: The Song of Life is arguably the best one yet. Running on the beautiful new Dragon engine, the Yakuza franchise has never looked better, with some wonderful photorealistic visuals. The combat has also seen a spruce up and is probably the most brutalist one to date, with plenty of eye-watering attacks that deliver plenty of entertainment. The game's story is also, in my opinion, one of the best in the series, with Kiryu focusing trying to find Haruka's child's absent father. Its story is incredibly strong, and I really do like the hard focus on family. Plus, there's added poignancy due to this being leading man's Kazuma Kiryu's final game. It isn't just the main story stuff that's enjoyable, as the game delivers plenty of laughs with various side stories, activities, and mini-games to do in your free time to make this all a brilliant game that tugs on the emotional heartstrings, makes you laugh, whilst also being incredibly thrilling. If you've never given this series a try, you really should do by now. Number 4. Marvel's Spider-Man. Marvel has been dominating the movie industry for well over 10 years now, but when it comes to video games, the releases have been sparse and the quality really hasn't been there bar a few games. But Marvel's Spider-Man is an exciting new benchmark that could start off a Marvel video game universe. Marvel's Spider-Man is an impeccably well-made game with a surprising, deep and emotional story that adds new layers to many of these famous characters. Whilst the gameplay may borrow a fair bit from the Batman Arkham games, it does enough to differentiate itself from it, with plenty of fun and cool gadgets, addictive combat, and superb web slinging that makes traversal an utter joy. The game is surprisingly lengthy, with a good amount of side content as well as a wonderful recreation of Spider-Man's Manhattan with plenty of references and nods to the Marvel Universe to make this the best Marvel and best Spider-Man game to date. Number 3. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Everyone is here. Those 3 words have been the big marketing push for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate ever since it was officially announced at E3. featuring every single playable character that's ever been in the series, plus a handful of newcomers to make for a jaw-dropping list of over 70 fighters, which is literally unheard of in fighters these days. And it isn't just all the fighters that are here. Nearly every stage in the series is here, featuring just over a staggering 100 stages, which is again jaw-dropping. Ultimate is such a huge game, easily Nintendo's biggest game to date, with so many different modes to choose from, ranging from arcade, different variations of matches, to an absolutely huge single-player story mode called World of Light that delivers plenty of nostalgia and content. Ultimate's multiplayer is also a blast to play, and the game is packed to the brim with unlockables, and the new spirits are a great addition. It's quite staggering when you first start off the game, but it's easily the best Smash to date, with plenty of extra DLC characters coming throughout next year. Smash Bros. Ultimate is going to be a game that's going to be keeping Switch players busy for a very long time indeed, as it's not only a celebration of Nintendo, it's a celebration of gaming as a whole. Number 2. God of War. The God of War franchise was in a desperate need of a reboot as the series was feeling stale and Kratos was frankly a really horrible character due to both his actions and his personality. But 2018 has marked a much needed rebirth for the franchise, focusing on an older, more wiser Kratos who now has a son. We see more depth and personality that was never here in the older games. Kratos is still a grumpy guts though, but it's due to the pain and regret of his previous actions. God of War is really bold in its storytelling, delivering an emotional tale with plenty of memorable characters. It isn't just the story that God of War excels in, its gameplay is also a bold change from the hack and slash gameplay of the originals. This time the action is a much slower pace and requires a bit of thinking. It does feel a bit like Dark Souls in the combat department, and that's no bad thing. This lengthy journey is a start of something very exciting, and I cannot wait to see how Kratos and his son's story moves forward in God of War 2. And at number 1, we have Red Dead Redemption 2. After years in the making and plenty of delays, 2018 finally saw the release of Red Dead Redemption 2. And my word, it was well and truly worth the wait. Red Dead 2 is an utterly glorious looking title that can be absolutely jaw-dropping at times with its astounding attention to detail. Acting as a prequel to the 2010 original, Red Dead 2 focuses on the ragtag band of outlaws led by the charismatic Dutch van der Linde as they try to escape the ever-approaching law and order that is now starting to spread through the West. The game's story is easily one of the best of this generation, with a rich, deep tale that is thrilling and emotional. Its characters are also well thought out, believable, and being a gang of rather nasty outlaws, I kind of felt sorry for them, especially nearing the end when everything goes to pot. Red Dead 2's open world is also very special, as it's huge and it feels so alive as you can speak to anyone, rob anyone, and whatever you do or wherever you go, there's always something going on. Whether it's a random event or a mission, it's an extraordinary world Rockstar has created. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a masterclass in open world design, storytelling, and presentation. This all mounts up to arguably the best game of this generation, and most definitely the best game of 2018. And with that, the list is over. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed my list. Like, rate, and subscribe, and tell me your favourite games of 2018 in the comment section below. And until next time, happy gaming. Bye.